Had this slot machine game not failed, there probably wouldn't be Mario or Donkey Kong at all. Radar Scope was Nintendo's attempt to take over the arcades. It had to be a hit. And how could it not be? It was a space-themed shooting game similar to Namco's Galaxian and Taito Space Invaders, and now in 3D. Sadly, the unsuspecting Nintendo of America found that nobody seemed to care about the game, since shoot 'em ups were already a bit of an overused genre in arcades. There was only one way out of the financial crisis caused by thousands of unsold units. They needed a new game, and not just any game. It was no longer enough to mimic the formulas that already worked. Instead, they needed new kinds of ideas. Whereas many games at the time mainly consisted of fast action without much of a narrative motive, the concept that Shigeru Miyamoto came up with focused on the characters, personality, and story arc in a whole new way. At first it was supposed to be about Popeye saving his girlfriend Olive Oil from the main antagonist Bluto. However, the project had to be scrapped due to problems with licensing and difficulties with drawing the characters using only a few pixels. The new character called Jumpman would climb up ladders to the top of the building to save a lady from a giant gorilla. As his name suggests, Jumpman was able to jump over barrels, giving the players more freedom to move. This simple action would later define an entire genre of video games: platformers. Donkey Kong was exactly the kind of breakthrough that Nintendo needed, as well as the beloved hit that the arcades needed. It was easy and fun for everyone, but became quite difficult in the second and third rounds. What stuck in mind was not only its addictive gameplay, but also its memorable characters, especially Mario. The limited number of pixels required him to have simple and strong features, such as a big nose and mustache, because it was very difficult to draw a mouth in small size. He wore a hat to avoid having to animate hair, and his bright red overall stood out against the dark background. These design choices created one of the most famous video game characters in history, who would have many more adventures waiting for him. Things were looking great in the early 1980s. After thriving in arcades, Nintendo decided to give Coleco permission to release Donkey Kong on home consoles. Just as it seemed like nothing could stop them, this happened. The king of American video games went through a collapse, damaging the industry and culture of gaming. But only in the US. In fact, when Nintendo finally built their own 8-bit home console, Famicom, Japanese players were still as eager as ever to get their hands on it, to get to enjoy the most authentic version of Donkey Kong on their couches. However, tricking the North American retailers into selling their video game products was a different story. It took a couple of tries to refine the branding, but eventually they got it through. Now all that was left was to create a big game to be ready for the 1981 holiday release. Many other platformers felt like comic books. Super Mario Bros. Felt like a movie. Other platformers offered challenges. SMB offered an adventure. Instead of moving from one screen to another, the good old plumber was tracked by a moving camera, seamlessly revealing parts of the next section. This not only looked cool, but seeing obstacles from distance made running and jumping less scary. Another thing that impressed players was how precise and flexible the movement felt. You could now move at your own pace, run fast when it was safe, and slow down when you needed to. It was certainly easier than before to get out of difficult situations. The game was full of mystery and secrets that revealed themselves little by little. There were a few things that the players would have to know to survive, and the foolproof, straightforward level design made sure that they learned them. When a walking mushroom or a turtle bit you, you'd know to avoid them or stomp on them. And when you accidentally hit the floating question mark block, you'd find mushrooms and flowers inside them. When you ate one of those flowers, you'd be able to shoot fireballs, and so on. For the first time for a while, playing a new video game was exciting for players of all ages and skill levels. Saving Princess Toadstool from some kind of spiky dragon turtle-like beast while listening to memorable melodies that have become classics by now was the beginning of the reforestation of the video game landscape. Now what? What was next for the series? Mario! Super Mario Bros. 2 was only for the toughest players in Japan. It came with similar looking but longer and more unpredictable levels that showed no mercy. While many Japanese gamers liked the increased difficulty, right now the world needed something else.
He's back. All you had to do was ask.
Super Mario Bros. 3 was like Super Mario Bros., but better and more. It perfected nearly everything. The controls were even smoother. There was a wider selection of power suits, up to 5 hours worth of levels connected via world maps, and much more imaginative places to visit. Like instead of breaking into a castle at the end of each world, now you'd hop into airships. This already felt like the ultimate Super Mario game, with just the right length and difficulty, but there was still some potential left. Once again we saw that Mario won't let you down. Okay, fair enough. But even if it's just a stick figure obstacle course on the liquid crystal screen of the new portable gaming device, that's really all you need. Game Boy, 4 batteries, the game cartridge, and this is important, headphones. Despite being maybe not quite as ambitious leap from its predecessors as Super Mario Bros. 3 was, Super Mario World for the Super Nintendo was praised as one of the best games ever. It was like the world around the plumber was always meant to look this bright and colorful, and giving him a cape to fly with, a cute dinosaur to ride on, and the ability to spin in the air made it even more exhilarating. And Super Mario Land 2 6 golden coins, well, it's also a Super Mario game. You can't go wrong with it, can you? Well, okay, I mean. The Super Mario series was hit after hit, until it hit a wall. After 7 mainline 2D games, the team started to run out of new ideas to explore. After pushing out one more sequel that was more of a prequel to everything we had already seen, where the focus wasn't so much on fast action and platforming, but on relaxing puzzle solving with Yoshi and Mario as a baby, it was finally time to move on. Sunday, June 23rd, 1996 was a turning point where video games were reborn again. Super Mario 64 for the Nintendo 64 wasn't just a step forward in technology, it was a step into the unknown. While it wasn't the first 3-dimensional platforming game, it was one of the first to show what they could be. It achieved something ambitious that was previously thought impossible. Freedom. No more 2-dimensional world, no more straight paths, no more restrictions, a true sense of freedom. But it came with responsibility and new challenges. If you can no longer restrict the player, how can you make sure they don't get lost? How can you guide them to the right direction? If there is no right direction, how do you know where to go? And if it's not about progress anymore, then what on earth is the gameplay based on? The game starts in Peach's garden, where you can freely walk around, but it's very obvious where all the interesting stuff is. It soon becomes clear that the entire castle is under Bowser's curse. There are paintings hung on the walls in almost every room. They serve as magical portals to places for you to freely explore. The world is yours, but you have a mission. To get the keys for all the rooms, you need to collect a number of stars hidden in each area. Some of them can be found by simply searching for them, in some you fight bosses, and some require longer and more complicated tasks. And that's the genius of this kind of collecting system. It creates a goal and maintains a certain linearity, but it's up to the player to choose which stars they want to pick up and in what order. With the power of these, you have to break the curse and eventually defeat Bowser. As you proceed in the game, you will encounter the most exotic places you can think of, such as a haunted mansion, a sunken ship at the bottom of a lake, an active volcano from inside, a mystical pyramid, an abandoned underwater city, a clock mechanism, you name it. There are several different missions in each area. What makes them so rewarding is that you have to make an effort for nearly every single star, even if it's as minimal as squeezing into ice cubes. They give you a sense of accomplishment. But the best part is when you get to break the rules. Just like in real life, there is more than one way to go to places. Yes, the stars are designed to be collected in a certain way, but the official method is only one of them. The possibilities are endless. The only limitations are the laws of physics. And even those, you can attempt your craziest ideas. If you want to save time, go around a difficult section, or just simply look way cooler. Quite often beginners struggle with the controls. And can you really blame them when there are at least 12 different moves and then every possible combo on top of that? For comparison, there were like 4 in 2D Mario games. A bit cold hard fact is that in order to fully enjoy, you kind of have to become an expert. Maybe it's due to the invisible walls or a camera that gets stuck in awkward places. I don't know. Anyhow, you will have to put quite a lot of effort into learning the movement. But after all these years, now that the controls are in my muscle memory, I wouldn't change it to anything. The album is full of classics, but the best song by far is Dire Dire Docks. It's like a dive into new waters and a journey into the unknown. Mysterious and reserved, yet calm and optimistic. After playing SM64, what's the wildest idea you can think of for a sequel? That's right, cleaning up beaches. While the general expectations for Super Mario Sunshine might have been just a bit higher, a vacation on the tropical isle Delfino doesn't sound half bad, especially since now you get to move your camera more freely with the right thumbstick and go to places that have surprisingly versatile approaches to the one single theme, beach vacation. You can almost feel the water and the heat of the sun on your skin just by looking at your TV screen. However, there is a downside. In this game you're forced to complete your missions and collect the shine sprites in a specific order, which practically waters down the idea of an open world. As you might have noticed, Mario carries some AI jetpack water cannon thing, and it's called Flood. Flash Liquidizer Ultra Dowsing Device. It has just as much charisma as you'd expect, but becomes quite helpful, especially when you want to hover in the air. Unfortunately, probably due to the lack of buttons available, it has replaced one of the most important moves in Super Mario 64. Sure, spraying water can be fun for a moment, but if I got to choose, I would easily take the long jump. Sunshine is like a trip abroad, an exotic and unforgettable experience. But at some point you will get homesick. The next 20 years were just as much full of surprises. While 2D games made their massive comeback, new adventures awaited the plumber in galaxies far away. Then he and his friends wore catsuits, traveled around the world, went to the moon and turned into elephants. One thing has always remained though. Jumping, which the savior of the Mushroom Kingdom is a master of. But that's not the only thing he has tried through all these years. Watch this video if you want to hear about his go-karting journey.